Hey guys, welcome to Stellar Career Academy. This is Miss McBride, and we're going to talk all about multiplication. Now, I have some other videos up about multiplication, but I want to talk specifically today about arrays. But let's recap multiplication. Now, here are some words you're going to hear me use during this lesson: factor, equal groups, products, equation. You might hear repeated addition. You definitely will hear expression, and you will hear groups of. But the focus really is about arrays. So really quickly, what is multiplication? Multiplication can involve working with equal groups of objects. Here's an example. I have 3 groups with 5 flowers in each, which creates the equation 3 times 5 equals 15. An equation has an equal sign, an expression does not. So the first number is the factor that tells us how many groups, 1, 2, 3. And the second number, or the second factor, tells us how many in each group, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the answer is called the product. So that's a little recap on what is multiplication. Yay, I see it. That's multiplication. Yay. But now let's really talk about the differences and talk about arrays, because that's the goal today, is to talk about arrays. So on my little chart here, we're really going to focus on the last column. We're just going to focus on this last column about arrays. Let's look at it. What is an array? An array is a diagram that we use for multiplication. But the most important part of an array that I want you guys to remember is rows times columns, okay? Rows times columns, okay? And rows are left to right. Oh, that's right to left to right. And columns are top to bottom. So here I have a row from left to right, left to right, left to right. That's 3 rows. And columns are top to bottom, north to south. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 columns. Okay, so when you see an array, the very first question you should ask yourself is, how many rows do I have? Well, let's see. I just counted my left to right. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 rows. So that answer is 3. The row is always the first factor. So if I was going to create an expression, no equal sign, I would put my 3 right there. Now, how many columns? How many from top to bottom? I'm going to change my color really quickly. So let's count from top to bottom. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 columns. And your columns is always your second factor. So I'm going to put 5 here. And I'm going to place that in my expression and put it here. So the expression is 3 times 5, okay? Row times column. Let's look at another example just to make sure that we got it. Just to make sure, okay? Now here is some instruction. I am saying write a multiplication expression for the array. Remember, an expression doesn't have what, guys? That's right, it doesn't have an equal sign. No equal signs on expressions. So I want you to really just tell me what 2 factors are being multiplied. Let's do it. Remember, what's our first question? How many rows? Because as soon as we see array, soon as we see the word array, row versus column. Soon as we see it, row versus column. Okay, row is the first factor, the first number, and rows are left to right. How many rows do I have left to right? Let's do it. 1, 2. I have 2. So I'm going to use up the space that I have on my screen. So I'm going to write row over here times column, and I'm going to put the number 2 here, because here's row 1 and here's row 2. Now, the second part of an array is the column, the top to the bottom, the north to the south. So now I'm going to just change my color very quickly. And I want to count how many rows from top to bottom. Ready? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 columns. Here's column 1, column 2. And this is checking myself. In math, check yourself. Because it's easy for us to miscount. So I always check myself. Here's C8, column 9, and column 10. So, yep, definitely 10. I'm going to slap that 10 here. Now what? We're going to move that operation right here. Are we done? Yes, we are done because I just want an expression. So I don't need to solve. I don't need to put the equal sign. So the answer is 2 times 10. That is it. Good job. Now that you know all about arrays, we're going to do something really cool. We're going to practice just one more time because I think 3 is the magic number in math. 3 gives us the solid foundation of confidence. You have the first time, I'm telling you, this is what we're doing. We have the second time when we're working through it together. And then that third time, oh, it's all on you, baby. So let's do an example live. What I like to say is live. Okay, here I have my whiteboard. I'm going to create a grid to make it a little bit easier. Then we're going to use some funky emojis on here, okay? Oh, let's see which emojis are we going to use. I am going to use, we're just going to randomly pick one. Oh, I like this one. Looks like Mordor from Return of the King. So I'm going to create an array, and then we're going to find out what that expression is. Actually, we're going to do it in reverse. I'm going to put an expression up, and we're going to create the array. So here's my expression. Create an array that represents the equation 4 times 3 equals 12. So here, I'm not asking for an expression, I'm asking for an equation. And the equation has an equal sign. It has an equal sign. Let's take a look at my chart really quickly. If you see on equations, they have equa in equal sign, equation. Okay, that's a way to remember it. Equation of equal sign. Okay, so we definitely need that. So my instructions are create an array that represents the equation 4 times 3. What's the first question we always ask ourselves when we see the word array? When we see array, there's 2 questions we always ask ourselves. And that is, how many rows? And then the second question is, how many columns? That's the first thing we want to do because that's going to guide us. So we know what? Well, we have 2 factors, 4 and 3. And it's rows times columns. Let's write that down too. Arrays are always rows times columns. Always, always, always rows times columns, okay? So now we have the 2 questions we need answered. The fact that we know that it's always rows times columns. Let's look at our equation. 4 times 3. I'm even going to write above it this symbol. There's a word for it. It's escaping me right now, but it's row times column. Okay? It's like a plus sign, but it's more of an X. And I'm a neat freak. I need it to be correct. I need it to be neat. Row times column. Yes. Neatness. Okay, so we got that down. So I know from looking at the equation that there are 4 rows. But 4 rows of what? Okay, because I could just put 4 rows to infinity. But what I will do is put 1 for each row. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's 1 row. Here's a second row. Here's a third row. The 4th row. I'm just setting the problem up because this is not correct. I'm just lining my rows up. So how many in each row? That's what our second product tells us. Let me answer the question. How many rows? 4. How many columns? I'm going to draw an arrow. That is not pointing to my 4. That's pointing to the equation. Rows. Ooh, there we go. And I'm going to change my color. Now, how many columns? 3. Bingo. And we get that 3 from right here. So now, let's do our rows. And matter of fact, I am going to put R here so that we know this is a row. I'm not creating 1 column. I created 4 rows. And I'm even going to draw an arrow here so that we see the connection between everything. Now, let's do some columns. We need how many columns? 3. Perfection. Let's create 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. Now we have to fill in the array. We're going to fill it in because we need every row to have 3. We need every single row to have 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now, when we count columns, we do include this first column. So let me make sure, because I need to check myself. Here's a column, here's a column, and here's a column. And there's the connection to the 3. Oh, there we go. There we go. And there we go. So is our array correct? A great way to find out is just count the symbols. Let's count together, guys. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Does this match our product? 12. Yes. So our array is correct. We have 4 times 3 equals 12 represented as an array. We did it, guys. And if you can do this, then you can do the opposite, which means if we were given an array, you could create the expression or equation. And that is arrays and multiplication. Good job today, guys. Congratulations. You know how to multiply.